Good afternoon. Thank you all for watching this interview. Today we have Mr. Adam Sieminski, the president of the CAPSARC, that is King Abdullah Petroleum Studies and Research Center. Adam held many positions in the government, in the US government, and also in the financing institution, Deutsche Bank. And also now we have Mr. Adam from the CAPSARC, a think tank in Saudi Arabia. Thank you, Adam, for joining us.
I'm happy to be here, Mohamed, and delighted to participate in the Association for Economics France and the International Association for Energy Economics, first ever online international conference. It's great that we're able to do this, and I hope very much that that in the future we'll be back together again physically. It'll be more fun.
Yeah, sure. Let's hope this will happen soon. So today chaired one of the plenary sessions of the first online conference of the International Association for Energy Economics. And we also had Ms. Helen Curry, chief economist from ConocoPhillips, and also Dr. Bassam Fatouh, director of Oxford Institute for Energy Studies, and also Professor Franziska Holz from DIW Berlin. So, and we discussed the oil industry and how it's going to look like under the transition, the energy transition.
Right.
So we would like to let our audience know why it's important to discuss the implications of the energy transition on the oil industry right now.
Well, we talked about a lot of things on that panel. Francesca discussed the possibility that if demand for oil goes down, that there will be stranded assets. And this could have big economic consequences for oil producing countries. And she talked about possible mitigating efforts with that. She even mentioned maybe rich countries will pay oil producers to not produce oil. I think more realistically, she's hoping that economic diversification, like many of the long-range plans for countries in this region, in the Gulf area, have for diversifying their economies and so on, will help in that regard. Helen Curry from ConocoPhillips talked about the outlook for oil demand and the role of oil in the long-term energy mix. And she indicated that there are many different scenarios that could result in different levels of demand for oil, some showing continuing growth of oil over the next 5 years or so before plateauing, and others showing steep declines in oil if there is a very rapid transition to other energy sources. I think her advice was companies should be prepared for both possibilities, that we never know exactly what the future is going to bring, and that having options is always a good idea. Bassam Fatouh talked about the competitiveness and resilience of companies. And what Bassam said is despite some of the grave concerns that people have about declining demand and the ability of oil producers to operate in that kind of environment, he said there are many mitigating efforts that companies could do: lowering their costs, improving their efficiency of production, reducing emissions that they have in oil production, improving efficiency of domestic energy use, and optimizing the energy mix within their own countries, shifting the portfolio towards petrochemicals. This is one of the big growth areas that Helen Curry mentioned in her outlook. The use of oil for petrochems is non-combustible uses is very strong. Reducing emissions and final products, and emphasizing then the potential for things like carbon capture, utilization and storage, hydrogen, ammonia, investing in clean energy technologies, some of which actually require significant amounts of energy, including oil and gas. So that was the thrust of the panel. I talked a little bit about the circular carbon economy approach that was endorsed at the G20 meeting last November that says all 4 of the R's, reduce, reuse, recycle, and remove, are critically important to meet climate goals, that relying on any of these options alone or excessive reliance on any of these options is risky, and that things like hydrogen, carbon capture and storage, direct air capture, nature-based solutions for storage of CO2, like mangrove, coastal restorations. All of these things are important, and we need to use all of the options that are available to get a pragmatic and affordable solution to the climate crisis.
True. So just building on the points that you highlighted from the participants of the panel, I remember Bassam Fattouh's point, the need for a diversification strategy, especially for oil exporting countries, and
Right.
that they are even more pressured than oil companies because they have been relying on such export strategically. So do you think that a diversification strategy would be possible and would be possible in the coming years, or would it take some time to help diversifying economy?
Right. Well, diversifying the economy is one of the key pillars of Vision 2030 in Saudi Arabia. And many other countries are looking at similar plans. At the climate summit that US President Joe Biden held a month ago in Washington, the United States announced the formation of something called the Net Zero Producers Forum. And they said that they were going to emphasize 4 really important aspects of dealing with net zero. And it was an interesting set of countries: Canada, Norway, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, and the United States. And these countries said the important things to emphasize are controlling methane, dealing with methane flaring and methane releases, implementing the circular carbon economy across as many countries as possible, using national circumstances of those countries. A third important aspect was and is hydrogen, and finding ways to deploy hydrogen technology, green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, all of the colors of hydrogen, making that real and scaling it up. And then finally, and this comes back to your point, they wanted to look at the opportunities for oil producing countries to diversify their economies. The US economy, US is one of the world's large oil producers. It's pretty diversified. Saudi Arabia, everybody knows, has a ways to go. 60% of the economy here is dependent on oil. But things like reforming government regulations to make it easier to start businesses, investments being made by things like national funds, the PIF here in Saudi Arabia, the similar fund that they have in Norway. All of these things can go a long way towards diversification. Norway has made quite a bit of progress, and I think Saudi Arabia will too. Under the leadership of the royal family, I think that there's been a lot of progress already made in the last 3 years, and I think more is coming, and it will accelerate.
Yeah, that was very much informative. So thank you very much.